I heard, like, I think Davitsky talks about there should be some DNA coming from there.
One of the things that Alyssa talked about was this Mykop to step Mykop. There's this gene flow, a little bit of gene flow from Mykop north into the steppes, but into this very specific group, steppe Mykop, that if I understand correctly, has some Batai-like ancestry. It's different from Naya. And there's one steppe Mykop person who's buried just north of the North Caucasus, who is related through IBD, I've forgotten exactly how closely, to an Usatovo person at the island of the Black Sea. A steppe Mykop person and a person buried in an Usatovo grave. They're both about 3350 BC. And they're pretty closely related. It's not within 3 degrees, but they're pretty closely related, and that's fascinating.
But David, now a question here. You have this idea that, and it looks plausible for what you have shown, that pre-Proto-Indo-European, or whatever we call it, or Proto-Indo-Anatolian, and would emerge here on the steppe, and then it would diverge to the west and then into Anatolia. I mean, you haven't found the DNA for it. And the alternative explanation would be that Mykop had a big influence linguistically on what would become Yamnaya, and in a way it could be based on the fact that they introduce a whole package of economic and technological practices to the what became Yamnaya people: wagon, oxen, cattle, and all the skills linked to it, which would come with the terminology and then perhaps some kind of linguistic or language. So could it be that they didn't exchange genes, but language and technological economic skills?
Yeah, they definitely exchanged technological and economic skills. You're absolutely correct. And I do believe that's where Yamnaya people got wagon is from Mykop. And probably through the steppe Mykop people who did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the steppe Mykop people are also radiocarbon dated, most of them just before Yamnaya. Most of them are pre-Yamnaya. It's 3300 to 3500 BC. It's that kind of a period. Yamnaya is really after 3300 BC. So there's a definite movement north of Mykop people up to the lower Don River, that far in the steppes. And they interact with these steppe Mykop people who we didn't even know they were there, because it's genetically, it's a new population. It's a third it's not Yamnaya, it's not Mykop, it's this kind of Siberian, West Siberian Batai-related population.
Which otherwise died out.
Which died out, yeah. But it was there long enough to pick up a bunch of cultural practices from Mykop and from Yamnaya. And then maybe they were the filter through which what these technological innovations went into the steppes, and including importantly wheeled vehicles, which laid the foundation for Yamnaya afterward. So it's possible, Christian. I'm still maintaining that as a possibility. I haven't closed my mind to it. I prefer the other solution, but
linguist, you do that, of course.
Yeah. Alyssa, am I describing this correctly? Do you know that the steppe Mykop people have this West Siberian Batai-like ancestry that distinguishes them?
Was it this? Yeah, I think that's correct. Yeah.
It was only 1 or 2 individuals, wasn't it?
I think there's five individuals.
Okay.
And I think 3 of them are not admixed with Mykop, and 2 of them are admixed with Mykop. So it's kind of heterogeneous sample. And then one of them is a relative of somebody in Usatovo, which is just crazy. There's a lot of...
Like culturally, for these individuals, are they, you call them steppe Mykop, but I think I've heard, is it officially not earlier that that also defined as sort of steppe Mycop variant of or something like? Are they different from Mycop culturally, or just the same, or are they something else?
They were called steppe Mycop by Russian archaeologists before DNA was.
Yeah. So how do they define them differently culturally from Mycop, I guess? Or
They have some Mycop pottery, some Mycop metals. Artifactually, they look like they're in touch with Mycop, but they're way out in the steppe, which is not the home territory for Mycop. That's why they were named there.
Okay, so they look Mycops culturally mostly, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it turns out they're really culturally like the Thai people. That's Wolfgang Hott hypothesized that they were invited in as a buffer group by the Mycop people to protect the Mycop people from the Yamnaya people. I don't know if I buy that because of the chronology, but I think they're pre-Yamnaya. But certainly they're a group that doesn't seem to belong in that area. They seem to have migrated there from Western Kazakhstan.
Maybe they brought the horses.
Yeah, except the horses, as we know, the ones from Western Kazakhstan are not the Yamnaya horses. The Yamnaya horses are different.
Oh.
Could have brought some skills, maybe.
They could have brought some skills, yeah. Like, there's just more mobility in that period. Right when you get to about 3,500 BC, all of a sudden mobility goes through the roof. And people you don't expect to be showing up in a particular region are there. There's actually a fair amount of Mycop ancestry in some Usatovo individuals who are at the other end of the Black Sea. So I think there's a maritime trade going on around the Black Sea starting maybe 3,300 BC and possibly in response to the Uruk expansion, the expansion of trade networks from Mesopotamia.